Tag TV and Tag Radio. Be seen and heard by both technology users and technology producers throughout the state of Georgia and around the world. Low cost, big benefits, powerhouse online branded video and audio has arrived. Tag TV, Tag Radio, there's a lot more to know. This edition of Tech Talk is brought to you by GlobalSpeak.com, new media consultants, corporate video and audio communications, video and audio production and distribution, live and virtual event production. Tag TV and Tag Radio is a service of GlobalSpeak.com, creatively delivering powerful marketing, video, and audio solutions. Well, if you're like me, you've heard the whimsical little tune all your life. You know, it's a small world after all. Well, guess what? It means more now than you could ever imagine. Consider the management of a network of interconnected businesses involved in the ultimate provision of product and service packages required by end customers. Huh? Well, it's all about source to consumption. All movement and storage of raw materials, work-in-process inventories, and finished goods from point of origin, that being from anywhere spanning the globe, to point of consumption, that being going to anywhere in the world. Supply chains that achieve lower cost, higher profit, and, well, happier customers. Greetings, everyone. It's Tuesday, April 5th, 2011, and this is Tech Talk with Technology Association of Georgia President Tino Mandela. I'm your guest host, Frank Baia. An interconnected world, both literally and virtually, demands supply chain optimization. Optimization with the power to see and act in ways that factor in everything, from fuel cost parameters to market shifts of social media's impact. That's right. To manage getting it today, you must really, well, get it. The need for a holistic power that captures an entire complex supply chain, from planning the known to anticipating the unexpected. Up to the Tech Talk on source to consumption, supply chain optimization in an interconnected world, Eddie Capel, Manhattan Associates Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer. Manhattan, over 20 years and with some 2,000 employees, Eddie drives a supply chain company that leads the industry in thought leadership, innovation, and results. Together, they are the supply chain people. They work directly to bring value to over 1,200 customers through a commitment to research and development, training, implementation, and ongoing support. Eddie is responsible for worldwide strategic direction and quality execution, as well as also leads the company's EMEA and APAC regional operations. His double decades experience in overseeing supply chain organization strategy and operations make him a recognized industry leader. Serving in executive top positions, he has led teams that supported supply chain strategies of companies such as Walmart, Amazon.com, and JCPenney, among others. From the company's innovative platform to cutting-edge business intelligence leveraging social media, from dynamic economic changes to, well, the Oprah Winfrey effect, inside the interconnected supply chain of today and tomorrow, as we Tech Talk with Manhattan's Executive Vice President, Chief Operating Officer. Eddie, welcome to Tech Talk.
Well, thank you, Frank. Appreciate the opportunity to speak with you.
You know, I guess in every single thing that we deal in, every vertical that we can possibly imagine, the evolution of technology, the impact of digital capabilities are changing. We used to call them disruptive. I don't know of anything that isn't disruptive anymore. Certainly in the supply chain arena, we've watched that accelerate from the revolution of the container to intermodal to now I'm sure there's a level of sophistication at Manhattan that would be very, very interesting to our listeners. Go into a little bit about what you guys call your platform.
Yeah, so over the years, we've always been a very, very customer-driven and customer-focused organization. We have not tended to be an organization that has developed products in the build and they will come mentality. We've always focused on listening to our customers, listening to the marketplace, and filling the gaps that the market and our customers told us that we needed to fill. And one of the things that they've been telling us over the years is that we need to focus on building a true supply chain platform, not a conglomeration of individual software applications that can be provided either by a single company or even integrated together, but a truly focused, homogeneous set of solutions that interact with one another. And that's a little coy expression, I suppose, but provide that 1 + 1 equals a lot more than 2 in terms of in terms of sophistication and differentiation. And to that end, we've built a pretty substantial research and development organization here at Manhattan Associates. In fact, as of today, we sit at right around 700 people in research and development focused on new product development. We think, frankly, that it's probably the largest supply chain management research and development organization on the planet, and that doesn't come cheap. It's about a $45 million a year run rate, that we spend on research and development every year, driving innovation into the marketplace, and again, for our customers and for the industry as a whole.
Well, talk a little bit about, when we talk about supply chain management, obviously, you're mentioning this integration or interphasing, smooth flow. I know one of the things that and anyone who visits your website, I think, will be impressed with the analogy of what we used to call a color grid, a pattern where all of the colors kind of change just almost very, very incrementally, almost unnoticed, and yet they begin over a period of time to change radically into the next color. You're talking about this combination of warehouse, labor, transportation, inventory, logistics, everything from almost source to consumption?
Yeah. Well, there's many, many ways to think about this. This convergence really is one of the words that we use to think about what's happening, in supply chain and in the supply chain systems. But a great way to think about it, and I think we can all relate to, is the convergence of retail channels. So we'll have the ability now to buy online, to buy in retail stores, to buy via catalog. And but the permutations on that these days are immense, right? I think we're all able now to go online and buy a product, but schedule it to be picked up in the store. We can buy a product online, have it shipped to us, but want to return it at the store. We may go into a store and a store not have a particular product available, but right there, real time, that store associate will enable that product to be shipped to us directly. So all of those multiple permutations. The challenge is that, of course, the product still has to move very frequently and efficiently through the supply chain. But generally speaking, retailers don't have more inventory to deploy to different nodes. They just have to use it in a much more sophisticated way, in a much more frugal way, frankly, because you've got all these multiple channels to have to service. So the ability to be able to plan the products that you want to sell, forecast the demand for those products, replenish those products to the appropriate node in the supply chain, and then be able to move them out to either that end those end nodes, which could be the retail customer, of course the web face that you might be selling through if it's Amazon or one of the bigger sites that are representing you, or the direct customer facing website that we can all buy from and of course research from. And having a platform that enables our customers, and then of course all of us as individuals, to be able to seamlessly move through that research experience, that buying experience, that return experience is what we're being told is very, very important.
Sure,
but
invaluable. I mean, obviously you're providing an efficiency for bottom line profitability, but you're also providing an incredible customer service as far as...
absolutely. But frankly, it's not a walk in the park. It's not a simple process. So hence the interesting amount of R&D that we're applying to this.
Here's what I'm wondering, though. I mean, when you think about, just a few years ago, I'm going to go back probably a decade or so. I mean, that's almost like 1,000 years in the evolution of things changing so rapidly. But you had independent methodologies. I mean, the manufacturer had a certain level of distribution that led to a distributor that led to the actual vendor or retailer, and in many cases they had internal systems that were different than other systems. We've all run into the conflicts of formats and platforms and trying to integrate. Does Manhattan lead the client to come to their platform, or do you somehow integrate with their systems? How does that integration or convergence occur to somebody like one of the big box retailers, for example?
Yeah, so certainly our preference would be to be able to avail that platform to everybody in the supply chain. But the reality, of course, is that that isn't the case. And number one, and number two, things move relatively slowly. So whilst we provide a full end-to-end supply chain platform, our ability to be able to integrate into external systems is wildly important, whether they be, frankly, older legacy enterprise systems that are in place, or systems that are out in the cloud that we need to be able to punch out to, or systems that are out in the cloud that need to punch in to our systems, providing all kinds of information such as inventory availability, real-time shipment tracking, and all of those types of capabilities to again provide this seamless capability. So integration is a huge focus for this platform that we've built, whether it be inward integration or outward integration.
And then, of course, we have this little thing called mobile digital devices. We used to call them cell phones that can have applications that read barcodes, and I'm sure that's going to present or already presenting yet another unique way of looking at your research and development. Before we go there, though, and I really am curious about two other things. When you talk about research and development and the kind of money you guys invest, how do your plans been affected by two things, the still recovering global environment and then things like unfortunate, insanely severe weather conditions that disrupt the supply chain? Yeah.
Well, in terms of the downturn in the global economy, we've been fortunate enough to be able to continue to invest, at the same levels during the downturn that we did in the best of times, frankly. And so as a company, we feel like we've come out of or are coming out of this downturn even stronger than we went in. And, following along on the mantra of some of the great, innovators and investors of our time, when times get tough, that's the time to invest, even more. So we've been very fortunate to be able to have frankly, the financial wherewithal, patience, and support of everyone around us, our investors, our board of directors, and so forth, to be able to continue to invest at this pace. And that really is held us in good stead, and we believe will continue to hold us in great stead going forward. Now, in terms of the second part of your question, these terrible weather conditions and so forth, the importance there, I think, is to be able to have an incredibly flexible solution that can move with the ever-changing times. The advent not only of these, or I shouldn't say advent, but these very unfortunate events that are happening around the globe from a weather perspective, frankly, aren't wildly dissimilar to some of the things that we see sparking out of the social network revolution. These days when a product becomes popular, any given product becomes popular, boy, it becomes popular really fast today.
Interesting analogy, yeah. I can understand.
It becomes really fast. And the ability to be able to respond, actually sense, respond, and react to those what are almost instantaneous peaks in demand requires a level of agility and flexibility from a supply chain and then the associated supply chain systems that frankly we've really never seen before.
Wow. And do you guys proactively provide that to your clients, or reactively are prepared to handle it when the disruption occurs?
Yes. So certainly reactively, the ability to be able to respond to these demands. But with within our platform, we have the ability for our customers to be able to bring together, what we call structured and unstructured data.
Wow.
So the structured data is, of course, from all of the, the back-end systems and all the data you expect to get out of your ERP, financial systems, and forecasting systems, some of which we provide. But also integrate that with unstructured data, so feeds from whether it be, we always joke about, that obvious one of, you better, if you're a book wholesaler, you better keep your eye on Oprah, because once she decides what the book of the month is going to be, you better be able to respond very, very quickly to that. So bringing together that structured and unstructured data is a really important component of what we do and what our platform provides.
That's really quite amazing. I mean, the insight of tying in with social media and new media and the impact, the instant impact that something like a favorable or unfavorable reference can make, and how quickly it can spread virally, and to know that your organization in a supply chain mold is already aggressively handling that situation. I think our listeners are got to be like me. Hopefully, they're pretty much impressed. Talk a little bit, although I think we kind of covered it indirectly. What do you think the biggest impacts for the company from a global perspective were in the last year?
I think, to state the obvious, the downturn and then the modest recovery in the, the global economic conditions have been a pretty big, impact on us. But I would say even in the last year, probably the biggest strategic technological impact has been from mobile technology. As much as has been done and advocated around mobile technologies over the last 3 years, in the last year or so, we've really seen a much broader adoption by just about every company on the planet of mobile technology. I mean, I think the numbers are pretty astounding, right? I saw the numbers the other day that 86% of every phone or mobile device that's being shipped now has internet access. By 2013, the predictions are that more people will access the internet through their mobile device than through, the traditional fixed station.
I saw one that said that the fourth reason you use a phone is for telephone calls.
Right, exactly. So all the instant information, the instant demand, to your point, on occasion the instant bad review, can have a massive effect. So, one of the things that we've been investing in, considerably is is putting supply chain information execution capability on that mobile device, so that supply chain leaders can not only view, they can also respond to these ever-changing demands in real time, from their mobile devices to essentially counter the consumer's position and ability to be able to react.
Amazing. One of the things I'm sure everybody's aware, and that is that Manhattan Associates is based here in Atlanta. Obviously, from a global perspective, from a national perspective, let's kind of narrow in a little bit because of the unique opportunity that you have in terms of Georgia business being here, located here. What do you see as the biggest opportunities and challenges for making the world smaller and more interconnected for us, for Georgia?
Yeah. So I think clearly one of the great developments over the last few years has been the Port of Savannah. And that wonderful entry point that we all benefit from there. Frankly, one of the reasons that Manhattan was founded in Manhattan Beach, California, incidentally, hence the name, and moved to Atlanta in about 1995. And one of the reasons back then that Atlanta was selected as the new home then of Manhattan Associates were really a couple, three things. One was access to just magnificent technical talent, particularly Georgia Tech. Secondly, was the communications hub we have here that, called Hartsfield International Airport. The ability to be able to get to almost anywhere in the globe directly from Atlanta was a really important characteristic. So from our perspective, the ability to be able to connect with the world from Atlanta and from Georgia, is really unsurpassed. We have offices in 13 countries around the world. We operate in 26, but have wired offices in 13 countries around the world. Direct video conference with all of those facilities over broadband, and it's like every one of our 2,000 associates or so is here in Atlanta.
So sleeping for you is not an option.
Not so much. We operate in most of the time zones around the globe.
I'm thinking that in your home theater, there's a virtual presence and a sound around, and you're communicating somewhere in the world all the time.
Yeah, well, it's true, but at
least you want the board to think that, right?
Right, absolutely. Of course, sometimes there is a benefit to not having video conference and only conference calls. As my mother always said, I do have a face built for radio, that's for sure.
I've too many times I've heard that one myself. Okay, well, let's wrap up a conversation that's kind of hard to end. I really think that because of the layers and tentacles of what you have to do to remain competitive, you're in so many different verticals, coming at it from so many different perspectives. I think there's, I'm sure a lot of our listeners have been pretty impressed and amazed at the depth and the breadth of what you do in order to keep up with all the technologies and changes. Let's just talk in a closing area about the retailing situation. Kind of where do you see it going? Can you really project out any further than, I often talk about what does it look like in another decade when all of the technologies have been evolved to their promise and begin to hybrid on each other and anything is possible. What does logistics and supply chains look like then?
Yeah. Well, I think certainly I think we all know that that shopping is becoming more and more and more virtual. I think that certainly the brand protection and brand awareness is a huge focus for all of the retailers out there. It's so easy today to lose a customer. A customer goes online, and if product is not available through any one of their channels, the switching today is so much easier. You just pull up a new URL. You Google, you find that product, and you go buy it somewhere else. So customer retention, is an absolutely huge focus for retailers today. And that customer retention, it certainly centers around having the right inventory available, at the right time, at the right price, with almost immediacy for all of us impatient consumers today. So supply chains have to, respond and react accordingly. So agility, flexibility, and being able to provide that speed to market for our customers, the retailers, is the most important component, I think, of what those underlying supply chain management systems need to be able to provide. Sourcing any product from anywhere around the globe, getting it to that point of consumption in the most efficient and effective way.
Pretty amazing. I'll probably add the fact that just the other day I was involved with a company that was talking about holograms and the projection of capability for remote manufacturing.
Yeah.
So, even some of the other, we talked earlier about disruptive things that are happening. But what a world of change, what a great opportunity for your organization and for the vendor that you've become as far as providing your customers with such a competitive advantage. It goes beyond a service. It really gets into almost a business partnership. Right. Eddie, we've run out of time, and I apologize because I got so excited about talking with you that I think I've done more talking than you have. But I hope that you'll join us back again because we have really learned a lot from your insight and information here on Tech Talk today. Well,
Frank, thanks. It would be a pleasure to come back and speak to you. I certainly appreciate the opportunity to talk to all of the TAG listeners. We appreciate being here in Atlanta, having access to such wonderful talent, and look forward to a very strong future here going forward.
Eddie, again, thank you for being on Tech Talk today.
Thank you, Frank.